Hello everyone, the aim of this video is to give you everything you need to know to achieve full marks at A level and at GCSE level for Exposure by Wilfred Owen. Now I'm not going to bother showing you the poem or waste your time reading it because you should already have read this, you should already have completed your own notes for this. But what we're going to do now is to give you the analysis you need to achieve full marks. So a brief bit of biography for your context. Born in 1893 in Shropshire, was a teaching assistant for a while, then obviously went off to work in France as a tutor before fighting in the war. After experiencing heavy fighting, he was actually diagnosed with shell shock, important because it highlights a sense of anti-war nature to his work, and it also highlights the effect war has on the individual. The poet has experienced that firsthand. Whilst at Craig Lockhart Hospital, for additional information here, he met with the poet Sassoon, a really famous First World War poet, who helped to adapt and improve or guide the work of Owen. It also obviously helped to just change his style. Owen actually died in 1918, 2 weeks before the end of the war, and it is said that his mother received the letter of his death the same day that the bells were being rung out to highlight Armistice Day. But what's the basic meaning to this poem? Well, the poet explores the feelings of a soldier who feels abandoned by God and his fellow man. No one is doing anything to help improve their situation. Owen uses a soldier, or it could be himself autobiographically, but at the very least the speaker is a soldier, to explore the feeling that the world around him has become a cruel place which is slowly killing him, leaving him to question why he is there. Let's analyse now. So analysis of form. The title Exposure not only suggests that the soldiers are working in open conditions, which helps them to freeze in the wintry weather, but the word also suggests they are vulnerable to pain and the enemy, highlighting failure to protect the men. We are exposing them to this torture, or is this speaker exposing us to the reality of war? Using a soldier as a speaker enables the reader, particularly those on the home front at the time, to understand the feelings and plight of the men at war. The first person style therefore obviously allows us to engage directly with a speaker, really similar to some of the other poems that you'd be used to using GCSE level, in particular work of Agard, that sort of thing. Obviously the setting itself on the war front does exactly the same thing as we mentioned just a moment ago. Prophetic fallacy here has been used cleverly in this piece. So dawn is traditionally a symbol of new hope and new beginnings, but dawn only brings misery to the men. Therefore there is no hope in this war. Let's look at some structure now. So the use of rhetorical questions forces the reader to consider the plight of the men, forcing us to understand the unholy situation they find themselves in. Also, the listing of negative vocabulary relating to dying at battle reinforces how negative the poet feels about war. The use of half rhyme, so lines that sort of rhyme, so for example, silent and salient, reflects a half-functioning mind of the speaker due to the conditions of war. The repetition of "but nothing happens" not only reinforces the obvious message that war is not as glamorous as propaganda would have us believe, but also suggests that no one has done anything to also slow the death of the men, or that no one is listening. The use of sibilants, the repetition of the S sound, sudden successive flights of bullets streak the silence, creates a sound of a heavy rain, so for the reader, in order to highlight the conditions the men find themselves in. It's a soundscaping technique. Finally, this is not exhaustive, but some of the language techniques that you could explore. Knives us. The verb suggests that the weather is not just uncomfortable, but is actually attempting to murder the soldiers. The weather itself is murdering them, not the other men on the other side of the trenches. Us is a collective noun, suggesting the speaker is talking on behalf of all soldiers, making his message seem more credible and therefore more powerful. We only know war lasts, rain soaks, and clouds sag stormy. The soldiers no longer know happiness or pleasure from war. They only know that the world is a cruel and miserable place. Twitching agonies of men among its brambles, so the wind sounds like the screaming of desperately pained men on barbed wire. To the soldier, the wire is now something natural, like a bramble, a bush, suggesting that war has become the natural setting to the men. So war has altered these men and their mindsets. Half-known faces. The men are either too weak, physically and psychologically, to remember the dead men, or that the face they stare upon died too quickly for the other soldiers to get to know them better. All their eyes are ice. Finally, the collective pronoun all suggests that all men are now frozen or dead to the world. They no longer function they're no longer functioning human beings due to the treatment they have received by the war and those in charge of war. That's it. Use that in your analysis in the right way based on the essay questions you've been given, and there's no doubt you'll be well on your way to achieving full marks. So thank you and well done.